current events that I see is that the Dow reached an all-time high, okay, of over 14,000 points. How many of you, just by a show of hands, have ever owned any stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. What stock did you own? Just curious. Apple?
Corn, not corn,
Okay, something to do with corn. All right. How many of you know what the Dow Jones Industrial Average means and what it represents by a show of hands? Okay. Give it a shot.
It's the top 50 companies.
30 companies.
Yeah, top 30.
But okay.
Um,
All right, so it's, what it is, you got it almost there. It's the top 30 companies that really are a great representation of America, like McDonald's and Exxon and General Electric. These are the components of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and they make up a crossroads of different industries. And they're saying that those 30 stocks are representative of how the stock market would do. So they take a formula, you add up the stock price of all 30 of those Dow stocks, and then they apply an algorithm and a formula, and that's how they come up with that 14,000 number. And it goes up and down every day based on those 30 stocks, and only those 30 stocks. Versus the S&P 500, which is 500 stocks, okay? So just to give you a little crash course, this is not a finance class, but I think it's just important for you to know when you're seeing each day that it's making new records. I'm not sure if it's making you any richer, or it's helping you in any way at this point, but hopefully in the future it will make a big impact as you're successful entrepreneurs and you want to invest in the stock market. So it'll be interesting. So I found something here in the New York Times that I'd like to read to you. And it's by Stephen Kaufer, the founder and CEO of TripAdvisor. How many of you have ever seen or used TripAdvisor before? Okay, TripAdvisor is a phenomenal site and pretty much gives you reviews on different hotels and resorts and golf courses and things of this nature. And I thought you would find this very, very riveting because this guy, and the name of the article is An Average Traveler, and it's in the New York Times. And he writes, I was born in Hollywood, California, truly a shocking notion if you know how unstruck I am by the stars who live there. My father was a trial lawyer. He taught me the power of articulate persuasion. We'd sit at the dining room table and take sides of a debate. He would argue me into a corner and then at some point say switch, and I have to defend the opposite direction. He would then deftly argue himself out of the corner just as he painted me into it. My mother had multiple sclerosis, and by the time I was 13, she was in a wheelchair and bedridden when I went to college. She passed away in 1986. A huge responsibility fell to me at an early age as the oldest of 3 kids. I balanced the household checkbook at 13, had a special driver's license at the age of 15 to take my siblings around. I picked up fencing in high school, partly because it attracted the craziest bunch of kids in the school. I helped start my high school team recruiting students with the pitch. Wouldn't it be fun if you learned how to stab your friends? I went to the Junior Olympics when I was 16 or so and lost every one of my bouts, but I got better. When I went to Harvard, I made the varsity team and was later elected captain, and in 1983 won a slot on the collegiate All-American team in fencing. In fencing, you have to think 3 moves ahead. It turned out to be good training for my corporate life ahead. I went to Harvard thinking I would major in physics. I liked the pulleys and levers part, but not the extensive math. Computer science was a bit of a backwater of academia then, but I liked the game of problem solving. I'd be pumped at 3 in the morning when I found bugs in programs. In 1985, after I had graduated from college, I was the co-founder of a company called Centerline Software, which made programming and testing tools that we sold to software developers. In 1998, the other owners and I sold half the assets, and the other half became Centerline Development Systems, which was headed by my wife, Caroline. That same year, Caroline and I were planning on a vacation in Mexico, and I started looking online for unbiased opinions about a particular hotel. What I got was 1,000 sites showcasing exactly the same gorgeous pictures and the very same descriptive paragraphs. It took a lot of time and some advanced logic in my search queries, but eventually I found a write-up from a couple who'd stayed at the hotel that we had in mind, with the pictures that showed rusted chairs and a beach not up to our expectations. I had dodged the bullet. Later, my wife suggested I build a website to help other travelers in similar situations as we were. Just keep it easy and honest, she said. TripAdvisor and its other websites now attract more than 75 million monthly visitors. Unfortunately, Caroline, my wife, did not live to see how large we would grow. She passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 42, and I was left to raise our 4 children, ages 5, 7, 12, and 13 at the time. It was difficult to say the least, but today we're a happy and amazing family. In 2012, I married a wonderful friend and an amazing mom with 4 kids of her own. With 8 kids, a dog, and a turtle, we take Full House literally. Through the Stephen and Caroline Kaufer Fund for Research, we've supported medical research at several leading scientific institutions, as well as caring with great efforts through the Carsonide Foundation. Most people assume I'm an avid traveler who would like nothing more than to roam the world for months at a time. This is absolutely not true. The company was born of an average traveler's desire to plan a great trip for a precious week or 2 of vacation. Okay, this is how this guy started TripAdvisor, on a complete whim with his wife because he could not find anything else. He found a need and he filled the need. And every week I come here and I tell you, you must find the need. You must find something a little bit different. Okay, he did. Okay, and here's a guy who did go to Harvard. He's a bright fella, no doubt about it. But with all the obstacles, he started TripAdvisor, the world's largest trip advisory company today. So, pretty spectacular call. Okay, we have an interesting class today, and I'd like to get started with our first guest speaker. So let's hear it for Anne, our first student speaker.
Hi, my name is Anne Tram. If you guys know me even for just a little bit, you guys know I'm passionate about food. And I've been thinking since I was a little pushed into this. I actually I had these 3 different ideas for restaurants, and I never really thought about them or researched anything about them until this presentation. My first one, my immediate family, a lot of people that I know have diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and I wanted to open a health restaurant that had specific menus for them, because I feel like if you have any of these 3, most of it has to deal with eating more veggies and eating healthier foods. It's really hard to cook vegetables in a way where it's interesting, and it takes a lot of work. I mean, I went to China this year, and although I don't really like it so much, the food that they cook there is really interesting. It's very organic, and we eat the same vegetables here as they do there, but the way that they make it, it's so different. It just makes me want to eat more. So I was just hoping that would be one of the restaurant ideas. The second idea is a spicy food restaurant that comes from around the world, because I've been to the Bronx where I've had African food. It was amazing, and it was spicy in a way where it wouldn't burn your tongue off, and it was just, I can't explain it. And I mean, I go to like Malaysia, that's where part of my family is from, and they have these street carts that have spices, and it's just, I want to bring the different spices of the world and different vegetables in like from different places and how they cook it into 2 separate restaurants. And my last restaurant idea, it's more like a little tiny store, because I haven't really figured out. I wanted to use Chinese herbal medicines to make, well, dessert is easier because it's a little sweet, so the taste it doesn't mask it completely, but it does have health benefits. And I was going to create entrees with the herbal medicine, but I don't think many people would like it. So maybe I can try to find a way to work that in.
I like it. I think both of those ideas are very, very solid idea. Just to fine tune your ideas as every week.
Yeah, of course.
As our students come up to speak, and we look at the ideas and we'll take some questions of validation. I try to point the question out to the class to help validate your ideas.
Yeah.
We've heard, it's like the Gong Show. We see them
I mean,
here
I
week
did
after
research
week,
it.
Okay? How many of you would go to a restaurant that had 30 different types of
Oh.
countries represented in one restaurant?
It's like the UN.
Okay, almost the
restaurant.
whole class,
That'd be
right?
really cool.
An African, Cuban, Mexican, all these, I could see it working fabulously as a food court in an airport or a bus terminal, all of these various different
actually
vendors.
have, yeah.
So if you take all of the food trucks in Manhattan, okay?
Yeah,
you toss them
basically.
all out, okay, you turn it into this nice thing,
Yeah.
I think it would do really quite well. You have a question then?
Yeah, question. It is a very interesting idea. I really like it.
It's a really big idea.
It is a really big idea. Why would you separate? I mean, in my mind, it's perfect to have the spices from Malaysia, from Africa, these different culture, together with the vegetable, which makes the meal, as you said, interesting.
Oh,
Why
so-
would you separate yours?
I would say one is the health one and one is the spice one. And the herbal dessert store would be within each one. Because if you're eating spicy food, there's a lot of, I don't know how to say
A lot of
it
heartburn,
nicely,
a lot of herbal
I
pills.
guess. And herbal like dessert after that, after your meal would just smooth everything out. And if you're going for like a health food restaurant, which caters to the diabetic, the high cholesterol or the high blood pressure, it kind of works with the little dessert at the end.
Yeah, I see them even as separate businesses. I think the Asian nutrient market
Yeah.
and herbal and ginseng,
Yeah.
that stuff
I'm
is
trying to
always
work
gonna be
that out.
big and it's gonna be expanding over the years.
Yeah, I think it's really good because my brother has celiac, so
He has-
he has celiac disease, so he can't have a lot of
Gluten.
A lot of other
food,
yeah.
so he needs like the vegetable oil. So he's always looking for it, and like the other friends do also, and they're always looking for businesses.
Yeah.
Whenever they come up, they mention it.
I realized. Thank you.
Sure, last question.
So I was just gonna say, like, I actually think the vegetable one's more exciting than the
Spicy
for me, 'cause
food?
I guess I don't like spicy.
No, I
food,
love.
but-
I can't live without spicy
Oh,
food.
okay.
It's just like
Just by show of hands, how many of you like spicy food here? Okay, so.
I just cannot live with spicy food. I have
So,
like
right.
jars
For
of
me,
chili
Right.
that I
the
make at home.
vegetables are
Sure.
like the thing. It's like it's such a pain to like chop it up and like make it. Like,
No, but it's a
like
thing
eat
to make
coffee,
it
but, like, you
taste
don't have to
disgusting.
taste it.
Yeah, because everything is just steamed or it's stir fried at the most. But I don't. I need to figure out how they do it. I mean, I've tried a little bit.
Right, okay, very good. Thank you, Ann, great idea. Okay, so today we're going to watch a little video, part of our Young Entrepreneur video series that we know my friend Harold Klein, and former Brooklyn College student Harold Klein did. Today we're going to be testing the idea, which I urge everybody, do not go into a full-fledged business until you test the idea. Just close that door. Thanks. Maybe we can get the lights too, thank you.
To make sure you have a good idea, you first need to test it to make sure it will work. Market research is the process of finding what the needs in the marketplace are, and if your idea will solve those needs. Before you spend your money on starting a business, you need to use market research to qualify it to the marketplace. You will learn the different ways to test your business idea in the marketplace.
How do I know I have a real business? And it's funny. You have to try stuff. You have to go and see if you have customers. You have to talk to real people. Writing a plan is one thing, but if you're going out in the real world and not finding anybody who wants to buy it, you gotta change things up. You gotta be willing to pivot. You have to know what people want. It can't simply just be, oh, well, I think it's a great idea, therefore it's a business. You wanna make sure it's something potentially scalable, that it can generate real revenue, and that it's something that at some point can be expanded upon.
This is the #1 piece of advice that I would give to anyone interested in furthering their idea. One of the biggest mistakes I see when I travel across and I do events on college campuses or high school campuses is someone will come up to me and they'll say, I have this great idea, but I can't tell you what it is because I don't want you to steal it. And what I've found is that most people will not steal an idea. And odds are whoever you're speaking to would rather help you than do all of the work necessary to steal your idea.
You need to make sure that it's not only something you're crazy about and that you wish existed in the world, but that whoever your target customer is, you should talk to them. Even if it's people your grandfather's age. People just like your grandpa. Go talk to grandpa. Say, hey, would you use this? Is this a good idea?
Take what could really feel like a big idea and keep you from starting and take it down to its core. What's the essence of the idea? What are the questions that we really need to answer in order to feel confident about moving forward with the business?
My best quick tips for entrepreneurs is one, make sure your idea is really good. And what we did was don't ask your friends because they're going to tell you it's good, no matter how crap it is, because they're your friend. You got to get a panel of people together from a cross section of experts who will give you real, honest feedback. So what we did was we brought the entire thing to life as a concept book. We gave it to 30 people. And we didn't tell them, come back and tell us if it's good or not. We said, come back and tell us why this idea is going to fail. Really shoot holes on it. And then it's their job to tell you why your idea is bad. After hearing that feedback, if you're able to make corrections to anything that was shared and you feel really good about it, then move forward. And if you move forward, don't quit. I think I've heard that the biggest difference between successful entrepreneurs and failed ones are the failed ones just quit a little too soon.
Start really small so you can prove out the good parts and the bad parts right away and keep on shifting and bobbing and weaving and iterating quickly.
So there were a few phases of market research. So first it was just conversations that really helped us develop the idea. And then we did a short survey. So there's free survey tools that you could use on the internet. We sent it out to a group of people that we knew to ask them about how they consume beauty and what their pain points were.
One email that worked really well for us when we were doing a survey was we sent it to our classmates and the subject line was, "We think you're pretty." And, you know, we were being a little cheeky and funny. The open rates were amazing in that email. You know, who thinks I'm pretty?
When I first heard of the idea of selling shoes online, it definitely seemed like the poster child of bad internet ideas. But what convinced me that it could actually be a business was that 5% of the footwear market was already being done by paper mail order catalogs back in 1999. So in my mind, the market opportunity was there. You know, at the very least, I thought the web would surpass catalog sales.
The best way to move forward with a business idea is to test it in little steps.
Figure out what is the cheapest way for you to test your product. You want to, if you're going to fail, you want to fail cheap and you want to fail fast. So you want to try doing it now with the resources available to you.
Whatever your idea is, you can test it with a small sample market. You could open up a website for a product that doesn't exist. You could run a simple Google AdWords campaign to just see if people would click and buy it. If you find that, you know, that the cost of customer acquisition is such that it would be profitable and you can move forward.
So the approach we took with our beta test was to think about people in our personal networks who lived all across the country and who are in different phases of their lives. And we asked them to forward an email to all of their friends or acquaintances. We got 200 people signed up to what they knew was a test. So it said, you know, here's the idea, receive 4 to 5 deluxe beauty samples in the mail each month. We gave them the names of some of the brands that we were working with, and we told them that it cost $20. And we were very upfront about, this is a test, it's only 2 months, you're gonna help us figure this out together.
We were able to get Method in distribution in 20 independent grocery stores in the San Francisco Bay Area. Since we didn't have a lot of marketing dollars, we would offer to do demos, which is where you offer to a retailer that for 3 hours on a Saturday, we will be doing demonstrations in your store, and that's a way of giving marketing support. But we use those demos because we did them ourselves as a way to get consumer learning. So as we were demoing the product, what I was really doing was interviewing consumers about it, watching how they react to it, and again, just being at the store at that level and that intimacy, those early days taught us so much about the business, about what was going to work and what's not going to work. And as you get in, you test, you learn, and you keep adjusting along the way. So doing that test market and being in store really helped us to do that well, to make adjustments to keep making sure this product was successful.
And I think a great thing about a beta test is that it gets your customers engaged in giving you feedback. Just by putting that label, oh, this is beta, this isn't the real deal yet, we're still learning, that means that our customers were sending us emails about suggestions like, oh, I really love this, but I don't love that. And it's a really great tool that you can use to make sure that you're building a product that people actually want instead of just assuming and then launching.
And a lot of what keeps people from launching is this idea that the product's not ready. The product's not ready. The product's never going to feel ready. And a beta kind of lets you feel like you can get away with it being a little more rough around the edges. And the customers will know that too.
So instead of saying, we think this is how the business is going to work, we think this is what the costs are going to be, we could point to actual data. So like, we paid this, the customers did this. And that really helped us get traction with investors, which was necessary for us in order to launch.
The key is get as fast as you can from the planning to the execution of your business. Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck in analysis paralysis and go nowhere fast.
Today's guest speaker, Marissa Goodman, is a longtime friend of mine and my family. Actually, my kids, two of my kids actually worked in the day camp that her and her family founded many years ago. So she's here to tell you all about the camping industry and everything you were ever afraid to ask. So let's give it up for Marissa and to Andrew.
Thanks, everyone. And obviously, Andrew as well. And Andrew has another
Yes.
personal connection, but also personal.
Absolutely. Andrew, by the way, is, in all fairness and disclosure, is my nephew. Okay, and Andrew works with Team Goodman and Team Rolling River.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not part of the presentations. How do I get back to?
Okay.
Sorry. How's everyone doing today? Good? Yeah? Semester is going well so far?
Great.
Sounds good. I feel for you guys. I actually just, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more about it. I just finished a graduate school entrepreneurship program over at Baruch College for my MBA. So I totally feel like you guys. Last semester, I was just telling Andrew, I had 1250 class, and I know what it's all about. So don't worry, we're going to make it interesting. Okay, so again, just a little bit of background. Again, my name is Marissa, and this is Andrew, and we're from Rolling River Day Camp. And just to start off, just by a raise of hands, how many of you guys ever went to summer camp or worked at summer camp? Yes, so most of you guys. So do you guys mind sharing just quickly where was it? Did you go to camp? Did you work at a camp?
I went
I'll do both of you first, yeah.
I went up in the Catskills. I went to sleepaway camp.
And did you have a positive experience with it?
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. But we definitely didn't do any sailing.
Okay, not sailing, yeah. Okay, what did you say you went to a camp or worked at a camp?
I worked at one. Are you familiar with Big Apple Games?
Yeah.
I worked for 3 summers.
Okay, positive, negative experience? Good. Yeah, anyone else over here want to share it? Yeah?
Everything. I went to 5-day camps, 2 sleepaway camps. I worked there, I camped there, everything.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, that's great. Anyone else?
Okay, I don't know if it's qualified. It was a camp. It was kind of like it was in middle school because I grew up like in Virginia.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a military, like a junior military camp.
Okay, that
where
counts.
You did like all types of fun activities. I mean, like military. It was
Yeah.
fun. And it was like, and then another camp that I went to, it was like a sports camp.
Great.
It was like based on baseball.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
it was great.
And you guys have, whoever went, what was, just really quick, your experiences coming out of it? Was there anything that you remember clearly, either friendships or skills that you learned? Is that something? I know.
Great friends.
Friends, yeah. So I don't know if there's anyone else over here, but yeah.
The sleepaway camps, I made probably the best friends, and I also learned some
Yeah.
outdoorsy kind of skills, like
Great.
building campfires and stuff.
Good. Yeah, campfire. We don't always do campfires here. It's a little different, but basically, again, just with camp in general, for those of you who aren't familiar, millions of kids go to camp every single summer, and camp could be anything from just your traditional camp that offers a lot of different sports and arts activities, or it could be anything from a military camp to a baseball camp or whatnot. But the core goals are the same for every single camp, and that's to give kids a great experience and learn life skills that they may not be able to learn at school, and also make friendships and give them a place where they can kind of be themselves rather than in school where it's so regimented. They get to actually try out new activities. So that's kind of our big goal at Rolling River, and I'm going to show you a really quick video, just 1 minute, about what we do at Rolling River, and then I'll get into some background. So. Hopefully that made you guys pretend that we're in the summer, not in this terrible winter right now. So, okay, let's get with that. All right. So just a little bit of background, and again, we'll go into some more details about what we do at camp and how that applies to you guys as future entrepreneurs. We'll go through some background about my background, Andrew's background, kind of the history about how Rolling River started, and then I wanted to talk about some central business problems that we're facing as business owners of a small family business. And you could see that even though we're a camp and it may be considered a fun place for kids, we deal with real business issues just like every other business. So we'll go through that. Then Andrew will kind of talk about what some of the solutions we've thought of and our future growth plans, and then we'll actually open it up to see if you guys have any ideas just based on what we've discussed. So, some of my background, I grew up in Hewlett, which is on the South Shore of Long Island. I was always at camp. I started at camp when I was 2 years old. That's actually me right there in our first year at Rolling River with my family. My parents met at camp, my grandparents met at camp. We're a hardcore camp family. Everyone loves camp, and it was always in my blood. So in 1993, my parents, Mark and Rhonda, actually had been looking to purchase either a sleepaway camp or a day camp, and came about on a property in East Rockaway, and that had been a former camp for 30 years, and they felt that this was a great opportunity for them to take their values that they learned at camp and provide that to other kids in the area. So I grew up, again, going there with my brother and sister. For me, I was always kind of back and forth between whether I wanted to be in the family business or I wanted to be in marketing or advertising. So I went to Cornell's business program with the intention that I may go into the family business, but I also wanted to try some different things before that. So I always kind of moonlighted for Rolling River, even though I wasn't working there full time. I did work as a counselor, but after I graduated from Cornell, I decided to get some so-called real-world experience, and ended up at a couple different marketing jobs. I worked for Steve & Barry's. I don't know if you guys remember that place. They're not around anymore. It's a classic entrepreneurial story that you might want to talk about one day. A failure. Yeah. They had everything was basically sold for under $15, and they started working with celebrities like Stephon Marbury and Sarah Jessica Parker, Amanda Bynes. I actually worked in the celebrity marketing department, and literally I was thrown into there the year after I graduated college to basically start planning photo shoots for Sarah Jessica Parker and planning her whole promotional strategy when I was literally 22 years old. And that was I had a fantastic mentor who was an entrepreneur just like Ted, and he taught me a lot of things, and that was a great experience. And then after that, I worked at a place called Momentum, which was more of an advertising agency, and we did more experiential marketing, so a lot of events and sponsorships. And after about 6 years, I was like, what am I doing? This is my family business is here. I love camp. It's in my blood. I want to stay. So I actually came back and I started at Baruch College to get my MBA in entrepreneurship and just finished that. And now I'm the associate director there. And I oversee all of the marketing, recruitment, internal operations, basically just working with my family to keep the business moving. And I'll go into a little bit more about that after. But I just want Andrew to introduce himself as well.
So, hello. So I grew up in Merrick, which is also on the South Shore of Long Island. And I also grew up loving camp. I was a camper, and then I went on to be a counselor at a different camp called Merrick Woods. And I went off to Albany to college. I went for business, for marketing, and I graduated Albany. And the only jobs I could find were in cold calling for marketing. And, sitting in an office all day for 10 hours making calls is not really what I envisioned marketing to be. So I went back to Hofstra to get my master's in teaching, teach social studies, and I finished that. I student taught, and I was subbing for a few years, unable to find a teaching job. As you know, that's very difficult as well.
Yeah, don't go into
so
teaching.
I tried to think outside the box to try to get back to something related to teaching, to maybe use my marketing skills, whether that be for a youth center or a camp. And I had contacted Marissa, who I had met once before, and I got lucky, and I've been there a few months now, and my title is Community Development Manager, and what that means is I do some marketing, I do some community development, I try to talk to schools and work with PTAs, I do some programming, like figuring out the trips for the summer, along with social media and updating the website.
Okay. So now you have a good understanding of where we both are. So again, just a little bit of background about the actual company. Like I said, we were established in 1993. We are a private corporation. Technically, it's called an S Corp. I don't know if you guys went through what that is yet in this class. But it's kind of for small businesses to set up to get the benefits of a corporation, but not have the tax implications. Again, we're family owned and operated. My parents, Ronza and Mark, are still the directors. I work there. My sister works there in sales and events. My brother works there as a counselor. My grandma does the accounting. I mean, it's like true family business. We always talk about it should be like a reality show. It's crazy there every day. But our product is a premium summer camp. So this is, our camp goes for it's open to ages 3 to 15, and we are selling a real top-notch camping experience. So we have over 20 sports and arts activities. We have our own private facility on the South Shore of Long Island. We have 3 heated pools, we have a boating program, we have sports, you name it. It's really just, again, an experience to try to learn a lot of different activities and stuff like that. We also offer door-to-door transportation. We have lunch included. It's really like if you're a parent, this is like the best thing ever for you because you just put them on the bus and they have a safe time and you can do whatever you want all day. Yeah, and it's great. And everything, it's all inclusive. So when we're selling, our target market is really a clientele that can, afford to spend the money to send their kids to an all-inclusive camp, even though we do offer scholarships, but that's really the majority of the kids. That's what they're looking for, mostly working parents and stuff like that. On average, we have about 600 to 650 campers each summer and employ about 225 seasonal staff. So our staff is anywhere from ages 16 and up. And the kids can come really 4, 6, or 8 weeks. And over the years, we've had to really change our program to go with the times. More people are taking vacation during the summer, so we had to adapt and be more flexible. Whereas, when I was 9 years old, everyone went for 8 weeks. It wasn't even a question. But now things are a little bit different. The economy's a little different. So we offer, half-day programs, 19 days, 29 days. It's really just a whole host of different programs. Again, this is just a map of where we're located. So you can actually see we're really not that far from here. We're only from Brooklyn. We're really only about 15 miles on the South Shore. You could see kind of more of an exact location of where we're at. And currently we're serving our customers about a 10 to 12 mile radius around the campgrounds. And that's because we are in a very, very competitive market. So that's something that you need to look at, again, based on, that video. You could have the best idea and everyone could think it's fantastic, but you gotta look at what your competition's doing too. We have a ton of camps and programs around there, so we can't just assume that we're going to own the whole Long Island market. We could do as much demographic research as we want, but there are a lot of other great camps out there, and we have to take that, into consideration. We are thinking of some new ideas though, which Andrew will go into later about, marketing and stuff. And this is just a snapshot of what the campgrounds look like, so you can see, obviously, we have all of our different activities, like our pools and our basketball courts and fields. And one thing, again, that's really cool is we're actually right on the river, hence the name Rolling River. So we do have a whole boating program there, so that's something a lot of people like. And, again, from a business perspective, it's great that we own our own facility because we don't have to answer to anyone if we're not renting from anyone. However, we have to have all maintain the facility. As you can see, being on the river was not so good for us in November when Hurricane Sandy hit because, we had a lot of property damage, and that was something that, as a business owner, we had to deal with all of that. The insurance companies, fixing up the facility. So these are the things, as an entrepreneur, you want to think about, that if you need a physical location, are you going to rent or are you going to buy, and what are the pros and cons, of each thing. Did you guys cover SWOT analysis here at all? Okay.
It's actually some of the homework.
Oh, good. Okay. So who knows what a SWOT analysis is? You guys know? Okay, great. So for anyone who doesn't know, most businesses, when you're just getting started, you want to conduct a SWOT analysis, which is basically looking at your internal strengths and weaknesses and the external opportunities and threats. And this is just a quick snapshot of kind of gives you an idea of where we sit, with Rolling River. Again, a strength is obviously that we're family owned, we have strong customer service, we're very attentive to our customers, and we have really creative programming. But some weaknesses is, again, we're a seasonal business. Our our revenue for the year comes down to how many campers we have. We don't really have any external major revenue generators. So if we have a bad season during the summer, or if people are starting to go on vacation, we're, goodbye. Like, it's, that's a big problem for us. Also, again, even though the prices are high, so we attract a certain clientele, that also boxes out a lot of people. So that could be considered a weakness too. And when you're looking at some opportunities and threats, again, in the external market, things have been talking just about the Dow and stuff, and as the economy gets better, we have a better chance of doing well, and making a profit because more people can afford us. And, on Long Island, camp is very popular. I don't know if you guys are mostly from New York or I know so you're saying from Virginia. Camp is not necessarily that well known in other places in the country. So, we're lucky that we have a lot of people that know camp and appreciate it and want to pay to, go. And then, some threats obviously are anything with the economy, with the recession, high unemployment, increasing costs. So again, when you're thinking of opening up your business, what costs can you control and what costs can you not control? We can't control gas. So we have 30 buses going out, and if the price of gas is $2 versus $4, that's going to severely cut our bottom line. So when you guys are looking to start up your business, think about which things you could control, because if there are a lot of costs that you can't control, you may not want to get into that industry because you could be done very quickly. Okay. So now to our central business problem, now that you guys have a good understanding of the background. We have a couple problems, but these are the most important ones. One thing right now that we're seeing in our area, this is going to be our 21st year. The demographics have really been changing in the area for one reason or another. We have some areas that are coming in of people who may not be able to afford to send their kids to camp. And if they are going, they're going to a place that, again, may not be as good of a program, but they just can't afford it. So that's one big problem, obviously, and we're so restricted to location that what do we do to solve that problem? So that's one issue. And then also the second issue is our increasing business costs. So like I said, with gas, with insurance, all that kind of stuff, That's stuff we can't control. So we have a changing market, we have, costs that we can't control. What do we do? So hopefully that everything's okay outside.
Yeah,
so.
this is Brooklyn, this is all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think, I live in
That's where
Brooklyn
they
also,
are.
so I don't really think about this. So basically our main problem is how to generate awareness of Rolling River through new programs, markets, and advertising techniques to cover these increasing costs, and also to make sure that we're hitting a market that can actually afford us. And we like to take into consideration two things: branding versus price. So again, think about it. If you're going to go buy a bag, and you're buying a Gucci bag or a bag from a local department store, there's a reason why it spends a lot more. But so you have, for a Gucci bag. So you have to think about, for us, we're a premium camp, what can we do to build up, our brand to get people to want to pay for it? And then also, again, looking at what can we do from a geographic standpoint. So, I'll take this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go up to the facility.
Okay. So just some things, some background. These are some of the things we've actually tried in the past to solve some of these problems, and some have worked and some haven't worked. You can see we used to have a nursery school there. Costs were increasing. It wasn't worth it to stay open. We used to have an after-school program. Too much competition. We have started using the facility during the year for private parties and events. This is another source of revenue for us. So this has been a growing market, which we'll talk about. Again, facility rentals. Our facility sits dormant pretty much all year. So is there any way that we can rent out the facility to offset any of the costs that we're dealing with during the summer? Also, off-season events on site. Can we be an area that we can attract people to come to us for events or festivals to generate awareness and get ideas, to spread our name out with a lower barrier to entry. So maybe you want to try Rolling River, but you don't have, the $5,000 to spend for camp for the summer. Maybe you can come to one of our free festivals and you'll like it so much that you'll make that a priority. And then also holiday camps. So when schools close, can we run camp? The kids are not really doing anything during the week. Parents have to work. Maybe we could do something there. So these are some things that we've tried, and again, some have been successful, some have not. And then also just something to consider is constantly I'm looking at this. You always want to look at your data like every day, basically, when you have a business. What's the revenue, the daily revenue, what are the daily costs, where are you getting your leads from? For us, our leads are extremely important because the sales process is a lot of steps. This is a big purchase for a lot of families. So we look at, in the past, how are people hearing about us and can we capitalize on some of these things? We found that I don't know how well you can see it on the bottom, but our top 3 ways from pure data and just also us, having an inclination about it. People talk about us with their friends. A lot of it is referral from friends. So can we do something with the friends to incentivize them to get more kids to come? Festival. We had, in 2011, we had 12% of our leads came from our festivals. Maybe we should do more festivals because people actually like us from that. And also from Google. The web has been just incredible for us. It's a really, really great, fairly inexpensive way and cost-effective way to spread the word. And when mom is sitting on her iPad at 12 o'clock at night, she can go online and learn about us. So investing in our website, investing in our Google AdWords and stuff like that. Okay, and then so basically our strategy, which Andrew will go into based on all of these things we talked about, we had a 3-tiered strategy. One, again, was increasing our web presence and website enhancement. 2 is expanding our core business with off-site activities. So basically breaking into new markets, doing things that are going to get us known in the community, rather than just buying a print ad or whatnot. And then also doing more things on site that are going to bring people onto our campus, because maybe when the kids see camp, they're gonna be like, Mommy, Daddy, I love this, and they'll maybe give them a little push. So. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to Andrew, and he's going to go into a little bit more detail about the actual strategy that we used.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Let's. Why don't you start with the web since you.
You want me to
more, yeah.
get out of it? Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, actually, it's talk
Or
about
let's go to ahead. Let's
Okay.
skip Okay, why don't you start with the website?
Okay, sorry. Okay, just a little bit of information about the web. That's actually our website. We'll show you at the end so you can see some of the enhancements that we've made over time. Again, the web is so important. You have to really, no matter what business you're in, if you don't have a functioning website that can be picked up by search engine, that's the key thing. Don't use Flash. I don't care what anyone says about doing it with like making it a beautiful site. You want your website to be search engine compatible. And what that means is that the way that the website is built, it's built in text format. So it's not just pictures. And that means that when Google is crawling and looking for keywords, it's going to be able to pick up those keywords on your site, and it's going to direct more people to your site. If you have a website that's in Flash, it's just a picture. Google can't find it. So you won't come up higher on the Google rankings. So that's something that we did a lot of research on, and we specifically worked with a company that was able to make us search engine optimized. And if you guys are starting a business, I would highly recommend to do your site like that. It would be a waste to not do it that way. We also look to do some referral websites, to do Google AdWords, where you just pay per click. So those things have driven traffic to our site. And then we also enhanced our website by adding an interactive blog. We have videos. We also just recently added a chat feature. So if someone goes on the site, that you can actually, it's really cool. You can see where they're coming from, and you can chat them and say, hey, I'm Marissa, I'm one of the directors. Can I help you today? And they might feel a little bit more connected to you and inclined to speak with you. So through those enhancements, we've definitely seen our web traffic just increase incredibly, and that's been a good way to generate some, awareness. Okay, so now I'll hand it over right to Andrew for this. Yeah.
Okay, so basically what I've been doing is we've been looking to expand where we go on Long Island and also break into the Brooklyn market. So in terms of Long Island, here are some places we're trying to break into Long Island where we're not really, we have a few kids now, but not a ton. We feel there's room for growth. So I gave you some of these brochures, and I've been going around into businesses with little rack holders, and I've been trying to get the businesses to put them out. And originally we thought that they might not be receptive. I thought we'd have to come up with a system like to raffle off a free event at our camp. But I noticed that it was taking too much time for them to fill out the raffle, or it scared them off. And a lot of places are very nice about it. I just come in, I say, for the day camp, can you leave out our brochures? And they're, they love just having us put their stuff out for their customers. I've also been going door to door in certain places, particularly in certain parts of Brooklyn, like Mill Basin, where there's actually mailboxes. In other parts of Brooklyn, as you know, you just have to kind of put it on their door and hope that it goes into the right hands. Again, with we've been attending a lot of camp fairs. There's a lot in Brooklyn and Manhattan, so we're meeting a lot of kids that way as well. So these are some areas: Forest Hills, Queens, Bayside, Queens, Park Slope. A lot of young families that are in the area with money. It's obviously not cheap to live in these areas. And the problem with a lot of the camps in Brooklyn is that there's not a lot of land. They might have to use a public pool, they might have to use a schoolyard, and we have the advantage when we speak to these parents, and we tell them, look, we're only 40 minutes away, and you could get a real camp experience on a private, safe facility. All right, so this just shows we are by the A, and that's the certain areas we're targeting.
So we're right here right now, so you can see we're not actually that far.
Okay, so certain things I've been doing besides going door to door and going into the businesses, and I've been reaching out to a lot of schools. It's not very easy just to walk into a school. They don't really want you showing up there. So I've been calling, and a lot of schools, PTA websites, I've been emailing, not just one person. I CC everyone on the PTA board in hopes that they get back to me. And we've actually got, some good responses. Some schools are letting us come in and take booths out at festivals. Certain schools allow us to send raffle prizes, so we get like $100 off of an upcoming birthday party. Certain schools have let us we send the brochures. So, along with religious institutions, I've been doing the same thing. Okay, so this is some of the things we've been talking about, the flyers in the businesses, different rack cards in mailboxes. We've also, I called up Kings Plaza. I guess you guys have been to Kings Plaza, it's not far from here. And I called up the marketing manager, and I told him we're trying to expand into the area. And we had a meeting with him, and basically they run kids clubs once a month. So we made a little trade-off where we were gonna come in with an activity for the kids in their kids club, fitness, little crafts, juggling station, and he wouldn't charge us, but we entertained the kids in the center court of the mall. And it really was a nice activity. We had over 150 kids. Marissa was on the mic and telling about the camp, and we probably, thousands of people passed by in the mall that day. So that was a really neat, free opportunity for us, along with the outreach to temples and churches.
So just to build on something really quick that Andrew said is basically, again, there's not really a lot of competition in Brooklyn, so that's why we kind of expanded our market there, so that's why we're doing that. And then basically the last thing is just, on-site events, so again, expanding birthday parties, festivals, and school events. So these are just, 3 different major ways that we're doing it. So basically, to conclude, again, Rolling River obviously has been around for 21 years, and we're trying to really get it into second generation, but it still is a business, and we still have to be creative with the things that we do, and hopefully over the next 10, 20 years, we'll still be around and be able to grow from these different techniques. So I appreciate you guys letting us come in, and do you guys have any questions that we can help you with? Sure.
Have you guys tried applying for grants? Is that something option that businesses have? And my second question is, I interned at a business, a financial planning business, where the woman who owned the business told me that the financial planning service that she offered, it used to serve the clientele who really couldn't afford the services, so she had to switch her target market to people who could afford the services. So and I guess all of us here who are trying to start businesses, do you see us even though we might want to serve those who are not fortunate enough to afford us, do you, in your experience in businesses, whatever, do they change their market just because they need the money, and they target a specific group because of the money?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So to answer your first question, as far as the grants go, we have kind of looked into it. It's a little hard because we're a private organization, so a lot of nonprofits can apply for grants. One thing we have done is a couple of years ago, instead of applying for a grant, what we did is I started a program called the Camp Mates program, where we got local businesses to sponsor scholarships for kids, to get more kids to come in. And in return, instead of just saying thank you, and it's because again, we're not a nonprofit, they can't just write it off, as a tax deductible, basically a charitable giving. We basically said, well, we're going to do this as a marketing opportunity, and you can come in and you can utilize our network of camp families who have high disposable income, and you could advertise your services to them. So instead of, we had to get creative in other ways to get revenue to bring in kids, and since we started that, we've raised basically about over $35,000 to send over 25 kids to camp. So that's one thing. And then,
Right, and just to say, what we offer them is for example, we could give them an ad in our camp calendar. We could give them email blasts, ads in our newsletters and regular newsletters as well. So that it's very enticing because we have a lot of families.
And your second question, just really quick, it was, yes, you may have to change your market. You have to either look to change your product or look to change your market, and we're changing our market because we're starting to go after Brooklyn, which is an area that we hadn't done before. So you should definitely consider that.
All right, well, thanks very much
Okay.
for coming in. Quite interesting to say the least. I mean, camp people are very difficult to find, and for them to come in and talk to a class was really great.